Hello again to this video clip series, My Journey to God in a Very Secularized World. The last two video clips, I offered this email that I had sent to a football coach in California when they celebrated their 50th anniversary of a high school football coach, the 50th anniversary, when for the first time this school won the state championship. During that year I was a senior in high school. And the title of this, the little article I wrote was Football Coach, Spiritual Coach. So I kind of basically compared a football coach with a spiritual coach, like a priest. They have a lot of things similar, if they want to win the game, you might say. So continuing with that little talk I put here, I asked this football coach, who's named Art Davis, I asked him, do you teach the rules of football to your players for their true good or to hurt them? Does God give to his beloved creatures the 10 Commandments for their good or to hurt us? You know well that if your players take the easiest way, you'll never win a football game. How is it that so many believe the numerous easy lies all around us, and that they can take the easier way offered by the mass media and by those around us and still believe all will go well after death for all eternity? You see, they believe lies, but in the football world you can't believe those lies because you lose the game immediately. You and your players know the goal that you are seeking, the California State Championship, Division AA. How is it that the great majority of so-called Christians do not diligently seek to understand the goal of life, where they come from, where are they going, and the fundamental meaning of life, which many of us learned as children in our catechism? To know, at least years ago, to know, to love, to serve God, and to be happy with God in heaven for all eternity. How is it that people today only listen to those in agreement with themselves and the comfortable way that they have chosen in life? A Christianity without a cross. Everybody wants to believe the lies. Like you might say in football, so too in the spiritual life. No pain, no gain. No cross, no crown. Dear Art, it would be a great blessing to Christians today if the spiritual coaches, the pastors, would do as you have done, so as to help the many souls entrusted to them to learn well the rules of the eternal game, to prepare to discipline themselves in seeking and doing God's will in season and out of season, and to follow the rules of the game and to know well the tactics of the opponent. The advice of St. Peter is very needed today. St. Peter tells us, be sober, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. Resist him, firm in the faith, knowing that the same experience of suffering is required of your brotherhood throughout the world. That's 1 Peter 5, 8-9. Eternal happiness lasts forever and is infinitely greater than the California State Championship. Our spiritual opponent, Satan, has convinced a great number of people that there are no consequences for our thoughts and actions, and that heaven is automatic and hell does not exist. And everyone can make up their own rules as he goes, instead of seeking the rules of the one who created us and who loves each one of us immensely. Coach Art Davis, I hope that the spiritual coaches around the world might learn from a successful football coach as yourself, and that they do not believe the many beautiful lies and half-truths which tell people that they do not have to do what all good football players must do to win, to prepare with much prayer and discipline, to follow the rules of the game in the gospel and the 10 Commandments, and to open their eyes to the deceptions of the opponent, their mortal enemy, who convinces them that the spiritual opponent does not even exist, and that you can do as you please since God is love and merciful. If you tell your players during a football game that you love them and that the opponent loves them and helps them score, and that the umpire always has mercy and overlooks every foul and mistake, what will happen in this football game? It's exactly what's happening today in the Catholic Church. Why do the great majority of pastors and parents do this today? You know well that you do not win a football game by chance. You know well that there are very concrete consequences due to neglecting the proper preparation and the rules. You might say that in football there is automatic accountability. You lose the game. You're accountable. You lose the game. Today, there is very little true accountability applied to our leaders, both in politics and especially in the religious realm, until after death, when it is too late to change the eternal consequences. If your players make a mistake in football, you correct them and you tell them to not repeat that mistake. Most spiritual coaches today tell us about mercy and love, such as Christ offered to the women caught in adultery, but very few offer the last words of Christ to the woman, "Go and sin no more." So all the best, head coach Art Davis, in your football games here on earth, as well as your own personal game of deciding where you will spend eternity. Let us pray for each other and for your players and my players, the souls entrusted to me, so that we will make the right choice and fight the good fight, so as to enjoy not just a 50th anniversary of one great victory, but that we might enjoy and celebrate a victory that will last for all eternity in unspeakable bliss and happiness with our Creator, where no eye has seen, nor ear heard, nor the heart of man conceived what God has prepared for those who love Him. 1 Corinthians 2. I added here at the end of this article, since I was writing to basically, he's not a Catholic, and so I kind of added a little bit about more on the we're going to lose the Eucharist in the Catholic Church. I put perhaps someone might find interesting in an article that I recently posted, which begins with the paragraph, "The saints tell us that the Catholic Church is the soul of the world. Above all, what sustains the Church is the Holy Eucharist. Even though the great majority of the baptized Catholics have lost their faith in the Eucharist, Satan knows very well what the Eucharist is, and that it is the Eucharist above all which restrains Satan, as St. Paul talked about in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. Satan already deprived the Protestants of the Eucharist 400 years ago, just as Satan did for many disciples of Jesus. John 6:66, 2,000 years ago. That's the only verse in the Bible, 666, chapter 6, verse 66 of John. And that's when they refused the teaching on the Eucharist. Thus, we are finally quickly arriving to the great prophecy to which Jesus referred to in Matthew 24:15 in the book of Daniel. In Daniel, we find in Daniel, "And from the time that the continual burnt offering is taken away, and the abomination that makes desolate is set up, there shall be 1,290 days." Daniel 12, also Daniel 7, and Daniel 9. And you can find in an article that more details on this, such as, "Italy will soon lose the Eucharist." May God bless you and Mary guide you.